We are talking about amending the Tennessee Constitution to prohibit slavery and involuntary servitude. Easy for me to say. And it's your choice to vote on it this November. I have Senator Raumesh Akbari here joining me from the Memphis area. Thank you for being up here tonight.
Of course.
Just to walk us through this, because this is something important for every voter to understand. First, get out to the polls and exercise your privilege to vote.
Right.
And then also to know what you're voting on. And it's important to know, I think, before going in to your polling location, to actually give this some thought and understand. I imagine that this wording was very intentional, and it was talked about and rewritten and made clear. And you tell me.
Yeah, this wording was a serious debate. Like, you could not get it through the various committees before it got to the floor for a vote until it was exactly right. And so we had folks from the nonprofit community, prison advocacy community, and then also those from the Department of Corrections. That they were very particular about what the language looked like. So some give and take there. Finally got it in its form to the floor, voted on twice. The good thing about this is it is easy to understand. A lot of constitutional amendments simply are not. And this one is, and I think that's part of the thing that makes it consumer friendly, constituent friendly.
And at the heart of this, what is the purpose here, and why is it important?
The heart of the purpose is it's 2022. You know, this was all decided in 1865, ratified in 1870 in our Constitution. But we have this loophole that says if you're incarcerated, you can still be enslaved. We want to close that out forever. Our Constitution is our defining moral document, and we want to make sure that our true intentions, our values are reflected in that document.
It does not say, though, that people in prison can now kick up their heels and watch TV all day. That's not what this is about.
No, no, no. Those who are incarcerated can still be employed. They can still work in a variety of fields. They can do job training. They can do education, all sorts of things within the prison system.
They just have to receive a fair wage.
Yeah, they have to receive at least a wage.
A wage. It doesn't have to be fair. I added that. That's not what it says.
We want it to be fair, but that does. It just says they have to receive a wage. Yeah.
All right. We were talking before we went to break that at least here in Davidson County, because we've done a story, we know that at least one or more pastors within the African American community particularly have taken this to their congregation, talked about it from the pulpit, and at least in my church, in churches that I've attended in the past, it becomes a little sticky when you bring politics into the pulpit. Maybe we're starting a different age, but it shows you the significance of this amendment.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's kind of hearkening back to the days of Dr. King and Dr. Hooks and those types of figures that from the pulpit they preached about civil rights issues. They tried to galvanize the community to, one, inform, but also get them geared up and ready to take action. And I think that's kind of what this campaign is about. It's statewide. It's saying those in the nonprofit sector, those from the NAACP to the Urban League to preachers to those in the corporate community. The amendment reflects our values. Let's all get behind it and let's support it and push it across the state.
And by large, I can't say everyone because it's had to go through 2 sessions. By large, both houses have supported it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was unanimous in the first vote. It was unanimous in the House. In the second vote, we had about 3 or 4 people who were against it in the Senate in the second vote, but the governor signed it both times. It is something that is a no-brainer, and there's a bipartisan committee that's helping to push the Yes on 3 campaign. So it's good.
Will we be seeing TV commercials, print ads, social media to reflect this?
I think that's the goal. Right now there's a lot of fundraising going on to make sure that we can get the message across so that you will have it on social media and you might be able to do some direct mail and television and things like that.
Yeah, it is important because you got to reach people to let them know about this stuff.
It is. A lot of, I mean, people have election fatigue. We have elections multiple times a year, right?
Yeah.
And you know, you think this is statewide, this is important, and a lot of times people go in there, they see all these, you know, Amendment 1, 2, 3, 4, what do I do? And so I think giving that information beforehand really will make the difference.
It does. So you don't even really have to read. You're like, oh, Amendment 3, I know what this is. I'm supposed to vote this way. Okay, you got it done. Is there any jockeying, like who gets the First Amendment spot? And like, you know, like
I don't think so. No, I was like, oh, okay, I'm wondering which amendment will be, and we're 3, which I like it. Yes on 3, kind of rhymes a little bit. Yeah, but no, I have no idea how that goes.
Yeah, so there are 4 total. This one is number 3. And I read through all of them. It is the clearest one.
I think so. I think so. Yeah, the first one I think would be particularly confusing for folks. But
and there's already ads about that one, so we'll let you figure that one out. I'm sure we'll be doing an open line about it too. I want to talk to you about some of your other assignments in the Senate. You are vice chair in the Education Committee.
Yes.
Education has really been one of the #1 topics in the last couple of sessions, whether it's been student funding, school funding, teacher raises. Give me an overview of where things stand, even the new education formula. That was the biggest thing out of this last session.
So education has been a hot topic really since I got to the General Assembly in 2013, but it has steadily gotten more and more interesting, right? So you've seen a lot of a local focus on libraries, librarians, what students are reading. There was a big controversy over masks in schools, whether or not they should be required or not. And then, of course, you had the school voucher debate, which, is kind of resolving itself a little bit, but we'll see where that goes. The biggest thing that came out of this legislative session, like you said, is the school funding formula, TISA. It's the largest rewrite of our funding formula in 30 years. I think that there are some good things that I really like about it. One, you have added weights for students who are English as their second language. They're in a deep concentration of poverty. They're in a smaller school district, or they're in a based on median income. It's really something that I think will help that individual child. The only thing that I didn't like about it is in our current funding formula, if you want to give a teacher a raise, or there's a percentage across the board that goes to teachers, whereas now it would have to be a direct allocation made by the General Assembly through our budget process every year. I will say this, though, making sure that our teachers are well paid seems to be something that is bipartisan. It's not that, but it's just how we get there, right?
Right. It's always how we get there. It just gets so hung up and so muddy.
It does, and I think what people talked about is if you want to give a $1,000 raise, it's like over $1 billion added to our budget. But the bottom line is this: teachers are taking care of our next generation, and we have to be able to recruit and retain the brightest teachers so that we can have students that can compete not just in Tennessee, not just nationally, but globally.
And unfortunately, Tennessee often ranks towards the bottom when it comes to spending per students, per school. And it really is, I mean, it's sad.
Yeah, it really is. And even with this new funding formula, we're still thousands of dollars away to getting to our closest competitor, which is Alabama. And I mean, of course, all these SEC fans, that's the last thing they want to do is be behind Alabama.
In anything.
Right. So we have work to do. I think this is a good step forward, and certainly we'll see in progressive General Assemblies what it looks like as far as more allocations to our schools.
You don't feel like in the next couple of sessions like they're like, well, we already dealt with education, we need to switch the focus? Because, I mean, you look everywhere, schools are hurting for teachers. They can't recruit them fast enough at all.
There's a serious teacher shortage, and you look at a state like Tennessee where we border 8 other states. So many of our border cities are competing with other states for teachers. So like in Memphis, you have Mississippi and Arkansas, or you might have one of the Carolinas, or you have Virginia. So it's or Kentucky. So it's something we're going to have to keep looking at. And certainly I think pre-K education, early childhood education, which has kind of been pushed to the back burner, is going to come back to the forefront again.
You said this has been an issue since you've been there since 2013. Has it become more politicized, though?
I think so, especially on a local level. I mean, now we have the ability to have partisan school board races, which quite frankly, I feel like whether you're Republican or Democrat, it really doesn't matter. It matters how you value and what you think our school system should look like, how our kids and teachers should be taken care of. And when you have to put an R or a D behind it, somebody might not vote for that person just because. And I just think that has no place in our school system.
But here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
Here we are. You talked about TISA, and there were, there's a lot of talking about it, good, bad. Everybody seemed to agree that something needed to change in the funding formula, that it was antiquated. We needed, do something better that reflected our schools today. But very interesting that Davidson County's view of it and Shelby's County view of it, because they're usually tied together, different.
Yeah, Shelby and Davidson are always tied together, but not in this case. I mean, my superintendent reached out to me in Shelby County. I also have Millington schools in my district, and they all said, look, we like this. It's a huge change in our funding formula. Memphis got a little over $100 million in additional funding, and a lot of that has to do with the amount of kids in poverty that is in their school district, period. And I think that Davidson County got a lot less, and there was kind of some pushback there between, Shelby and Davidson. I think Shelby was like, we support this, and Davidson was like, there's some things we want to have fixed to make it okay. And part of that was negotiated. I think everyone was not quite happy, so that means there's a good compromise, right?
That's probably true. That's nobody should be 100% happy, because the other side is not going to be at all, right? Okay. We have to take another quick break. We would love your questions, comments about what's happening in our legislature, particularly on these changes to the Constitution, the proposed changes. Give us a call, 615-737+.